Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. I'm Rashida, and I will be facilitating this lightning session. And with us this morning, we're supposed to have 4 speakers, but one of them is not able to make it to Bangkok, so that leaves us with 3 speakers. So as the session says, it's a lightning session. So I've been given instructions on to make it really as fast as possible, but not to worry because we now have less one speaker, so we are going to give more time for each speaker. So we're supposed to start the first session at 10, according to my agenda in WOVA, at 10:52. So I'll just read out the instructions given to me and what it meant by the lightning session. So we only have one speaker here, which is Nico from the University of the Philippines, Diliman. Did I say it right? Okay. And then for this session, we will have to make sure that your slides are loaded and it's working. And then I will signal you for the time slot that you have. And each of you is supposed to be given 6 minutes, but since we have lesser one speaker, I'll give you about 8 minutes, yeah? Or more if there's no other speakers here. And between the talks, there's not supposed to be any questions, so we keep all your questions until the end of the talk. Now, we do have a session for a Q&A at the end of after all the speakers have presented. And I will give you some kind of timing using my stopwatch, and I will time you. I will kind of signal after 6 minutes, and then you will have another 1 extra minute to round up, yeah? So that it will give enough time for the other speakers as well. So as I mentioned just now, the Q&A will be at the end of the session, and we have to finish by 11:30 on the dot. Yeah, okay? So I just give another 2 minutes for the speakers, any speakers to come in, or else Nico will have all the time to present. Yeah, go Nico. You see, you have supporters already here, Nico. And to those of you who have come here to support the speakers over here, thank you so much. And welcome to Charleston, Asia 2026. So Nico, since you are the only one here, I give you the extra 1 minute to kind of set up, yeah? So please give your hand to support Nico. So while Nico is setting up, his title will be Bakas Baang Silit Aklatan. Did I say that right? Is the library open? Mapping queer-related initiatives of the University of the Philippines Diliman Libraries. Now, just to know a little bit about Nico, Nico is a board-certified librarian, and his passion is for advancing library services, specializing in reference management, cataloging, and information literacy. He has a bachelor's degree in library and information science from the Polytechnic University of the Philippines and currently pursuing his master's in the same field, but specializing in academic libraries. His research interests include information literacy, sustainable development goal 5, gender equity in the Philippine librarianship, and has lived experiences of an LGBTQIA+ librarians. He has presented his research widely at national as well as now international conferences. So without further ado, Nico, the floor is yours.
Thank you so much, ma'am. Again, magandang umaga. Good morning, everyone. I'm Nico. I'm a librarian from the University of the Philippines. I write this paper with my co-authors, Ms. Eunice, Sir AB, and Sir Martian. The title of our presentation, the title of our research is Bukas ba ang aklatan, or is the library open? We are mapping the queer-related initiatives of the University of the Philippine Diliman libraries. So this presentation looks at queer-related initiatives in academic library, particularly how libraries in the University of the Philippines, Diliman, engage sometimes quietly, sometimes visibly with the LGBT inclusion. So rather than asking whether libraries should be inclusive, this study asks a more grounded question. What are libraries actually doing, and what do this action tells us about inclusion in practice? So using documented initiatives across UP Diliman libraries, we identified 33 queer-related initiatives. So even within one university system, these varied widely in form of frequency. So from the data, we noticed four patterns emerged. The first one is curating representative collection. The second one is creating welcoming, respectful spaces, adopting inclusive policies, and collaborating with LGBT organizations. So these four areas capture how inclusion is currently enacted in practice in the University of the Philippines, Diliman, from what it is collected and made visible, and how libraries engage communities and navigate institutional and structures and extend support beyond the walls of the library. First one is the strongest area is creating representative collections. So in Tuklas is our university libraries resource discovery interface. It searches yield 172 searches from the keyword queer and 130 for the keyword gays, but far fewer for the localized terms bakla and tomboy. The bakla term is for the gays and the tomboy term is for the lesbian. This matters because 16 out of 33 queer-related initiatives were collection-based. So when we say collection-based, they exhibit their collections related to the queer materials. They feature queer materials in their library. And unlike events, collections provide year-round structural support for the academic community. So they sustain research, education, and personal exploration, and they preserve queer knowledge beyond commemorative moments. So it's not just presenting posts like that. It preserves memories because it is part of the collection of the library. So in this sense, collection functions not just symbolically, but lasting infrastructure for the library. Next is creating welcoming spaces of peers through initiatives like Write Your Pride. The first one here, it spotlights the role of LGBT voices in shaping inclusive, critical, and community-rooted LIS research. The second one is, the far right photo is the Gender and Development Collection, which the library curates collections about gender and development. Next one is the gender sensitivity training, GST, gender sensitivity training. Next one is Aklataan Godcast. This is the official vodcast of the UP Diliman University Library Gender and Development Committee, where they talk about experiences of queer people in the library. No, in a very friendly way, accessible way. And all of those were participatory and affirming. However, we see that these efforts are mostly time-bound. So we noticed that these programs, these events are time-bound. It offers centered on the Pride Month every June. It also poses questions of how inclusion can be extended beyond commemoration into the practice of everyday librarianship. Third is adopting inclusive policies exists in institutional level. Now, in the Philippines, libraries operate under a mandated gender and development framework with dedicated funding and GOD committees in the library, including in UP Diliman. So gender and development, for the context in the Philippines, is a mandatory rights-based approach anchored on the Magna Carta of Women for the Republic Act 9710 and the Philippine Plan for Gender Responsive Development for 1995 to 2025. It mandates all government agencies and local government units to mainstream gender perspectives in policies, planning, and budgeting, utilizing at least 5% of their budget for GAD programs, for gender and development programs. So, however, this commitment is less visible in documentation for the day-to-day practices of the library, suggesting a slight gap in the data. Now, one example of the activities is the Great Info Hunt Padagos. This is one of the iterations of the Great Info Hunt that the University Library um, is promoting. This is a gamified library program that integrates LGBTQIA plus narratives, such as the stories of Markova. Markova is a comfort gay for the Imperial Japanese Army. Next is Khaled Karen, the first transgender woman news anchor in the Philippines. So it shows the narratives into information literacy learning. So Padagos uses a gamified approach to help students explore library resources, the practices, now with strategies and engage critically with social issues, while affirming queer resilience and visibility. Now, while Padagos demonstrate meaningful collaboration and advocacy, most initiatives remain librarian-led or intra-university. The formal and sustained partnership with external LGBT organizations are still emerging rather than a system-wide that points out to an area of growth for deeper and long-term inclusion. So these are my team. As you can see, this is the TGI core, and these are the students who participated in the activity. Next, what is striking here is not the absence of queer inclusion, but how it is practiced. So initiative within the UP Diliman libraries may be short-lived or fragmented, but they are far from insignificant. Now, the programs and exhibit provide a very symbolic and interactive visibility. Curated collections offer a more sustained structural form of support. But despite the limitations, no, it is shaped by cataloging practices and historical gaps. So inclusion is largely locally initiated, shaped by the commitments of individual librarians or libraries. And this resulted in support that is meaningful but uneven. Now, viewed through a queer heteronormative lens, these practices can be understood as negotiated. So we have here, this is the initiatives are symbolic, the initiatives are interactive, and the initiatives are structural. And inclusion cannot be declared by institutions alone. It must be affirmed by the communities themselves. So until LGBT communities can say libraries are safe and sustaining, these initiatives remains the beginning but not an end point. Still, all those small deliberate acts, it still matters. Every exhibit, every pride post, every curated book, it validates identity, it validates inquiry, and it validates belonging. And so we ask, bukas ba ang silid-aklatan or is the library open? With these efforts, we can begin to say yes, the library is opening its doors to ideas, to identities, and voices that also deserves space. So these efforts is strongly aligned with SDG 5 and SDG 10, highlighting the library's role in equity and social justice. That's all for my presentation. Thank you.
Thank you, Nico. I just wonder whether our second speaker is here. Go back to my WOVA, just a minute. Yes. Okay. Do we have Nagarjuna Piti here? No, she's not here. What about Anu K. Jose? Also not here. Wow, seems Nico, you are the star. So maybe I'll just open the floor for questions and answers that we can ask Nico. Anyone would like to ask Nico any questions or any additions to initiatives elsewhere that also provide similar initiatives at the libraries? Anyone? Or Nico, would you want to have some more? I mean, I can give you some more time to explore and explain.
Sorry, I'll just state some other initiatives that we have at the university. I just named few for the benefit of the time. Let me just check my document here. Okay. For the existing initiatives in the Philippines, for the queer-related initiatives, we actually give more importance for the GAD committee, the existence of gender and development committees as mandated by the government, the Philippine government. So each local government unit in the Philippines, each government agencies are mandated to provide at least a committee for gender and development and a curated collection of gender and development, hence the Gender and Development Corner, the GAD Corner. So each libraries in the Philippines or even local offices, it has GAD collection. Now it's not necessarily about gender, but mostly these are women collections, women collections. How to empower women, children. Those are some of the collections for the GAD Corner. So one of the things I think I must say, or I suppose, is that GAD in the Philippines, GAD committee in the Philippines are given budget, 5% budget of the office or the library from the library. So they provide reports or they prepare reports for the initiatives for the whole year, for the whole fiscal year, and then the institution provides budget for the GAD committee for their initiatives or programs for the said year. One other thing is that this is part of the initiatives of the college and unit libraries in UP Diliman. So for the context, in University of the Philippines Diliman, under the main library, we also have unit libraries. So these are the college libraries. So the college libraries in Diliman, I think it's 28 unit libraries and the main library, so 29 working university libraries in the university system. So each of the unit libraries has a unique initiatives for gender. I mean, not all, but most of them. We have 33 queer-related initiatives. One of those is Write Your Pride. So Write Your Pride is part of celebration for Pride Month, where they invite speakers to share something about the research practices, about gender, about queer theory, and something like that. We also have here an initiative called Call for Stories by the College of Media and Communication Libraries, wherein they ask participants or library users, students, faculty to share stories about their queerness, to share to the people that this is my story. This is one way of providing awareness that these are the lived experiences of LGBT individuals in the Philippines, in the academe. Next one is, since I mentioned that collection is one of the most structured form of support for the queer community, most of the libraries, unit libraries in the University of the Philippines Diliman exhibits collections related to queer. These are posted to their Facebook, since Facebook is one of the most common platform for students to use. They browse Facebook for information about the library. So we post everything on Facebook. So we post here exhibits. We conduct exhibits in Facebook, collection exhibits. We post collections, not just for queer-related initiatives, but also for celebrations or commemorations. For example, for women, every March, for June, for Pride Month, October, for History of Pride Month, and other commemorative days. And those are some of the initiatives that we have, the university, aside from the initiatives of the Gender and Development Committee, where they have the Aklataan Gadcast. So the term akla is it's a lingo, gay lingo in the Philippines, means gay, and aklatan is library in Filipino. So akla TAN, so Gay Library, technically Gay Library Podcast. So they post it on YouTube. They have YouTube channel. They talk about anything under the sun, anything about gender, what is safe spaces, um, what are your experiences since the library has Gender and Development Committee. So that's one of the initiatives of the library. And also, I mentioned TGI. TGI, the Great Info Hunt is a gamified event, a gamified activity of the university library. So it's like hitting two birds with one stone. This is to promote awareness of the existing databases of the library and to expose the students to social issues. So the stories of each iteration for the TGI is social issues such as the drug war in the Philippines, religion. We have that homosexuality. So those are just some of the topics that we have for TGI. And aside from opening their eyes to social issues, I mentioned earlier that one of the reasons for TGI is to promote that they think critically using our databases, the subscribed databases that we have for the university.
Any questions so far? Yes. Please introduce yourself and where you come from. I think you can start.
Subject headings and cataloging. Okay, so in our paper, we actually discussed with my co-writers why did we only come up with those searches from our database. We think through that it must come from the discrepancy of catalogers. I mean, not the negative side, but catalogers. We are centralized in cataloging in the university. So each unit library has its own cataloger. So depending on how the cataloger perceive the topic, so that's how they add the subject entry for the specific material. And so it varies through all the collections. So we have a lot of subject terms for, let's say, for example, LGBT. We have LGBT, we have LGBTQIA+, we have LGBTQIA++. We have, for example, for gay, we have the local term bakla. For lesbian, we have the local term tomboy. We have queer theory, so it varies a lot. It also depends on the cataloger for in assigning subject headings.
Yeah, I have a question on that one. Adding to the gentleman's question just now, do you have a committee that kind of come out with like not to say standard, but terms, agreeable terms, not just from your library, but the community of librarians in the Philippines? Do you develop those search index?
In the Philippines, I'm not quite sure if an index has been developed for that. But in the University of the Philippines, we have this term called Filipiniana Index. No, those are the Filipino terms that we use for subject headings, aside from the control terms from the Library of Congress. So we uses that term, index. Yeah. Thank you so much for your question.
Any other question? Or is there any other persons who would like to share about their along this subject matter on equitable and trying to be making things as accessible as possible to people different from the normal stream of people, or maybe those who are in the disadvantaged or marginalized group? I mean, you are most welcome to share. Any one of your co-authors here with you?
they left because one of my co-authors is also presenting in another session.
Oh, great. You guys are productive. Okay, so, well, is there anything else that you want to add, Nico?
Um, One more thing is that actually, the paper I'm writing for my master's thesis is also about the LGBT, but more centered on the lived realities of librarians in the academic libraries. So it's more of um, the support they receive from the institutions. I think that also says how the library provides queer support, right? Because librarians, of course, we claim that library is a safe space, but mostly for students, for our clients. But seldom we see researches that it is a safe space also for librarians to provide safe space for the clients. So that's what I'm trying to look for in my paper. And based on the interview of the librarians, of course, they have different sentiments. They have different live realities, of course. But it all boils down to one thing, that librarians are thriving, LGBT librarians are thriving in the academic libraries given its academic community being progressive.
Well, another round of applause for Nico.
Thank you so much.
Well, I think that's kind of wrap up our session for this round of lightning talk. And I think you're most welcome to join the other lightning spaces, which is also being held around. Thank you so much for your presence, and thank you for supporting Nico. Nico, all the best in your masters, and I wish you every success you should have. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. See you in the next rooms.